If you like anime and you want to try something new, Verve has added High Dive to its list of channels within the ever-growing Combo Pack, where you can watch anime from Sentai Filmworks, otherwise known as ADV, shows like Food Wars, shows like Gate, shows like High School of the Dead, anime, fresh, niche stuff right here on Verve, vrv.co/geekdom. Try it out for free, and you can try all these shows and so much more on Verve. The link is down below. So in this video, we're not going to talk about Dragon Ball Super Broly spoilers for anything but the first act of the film, which is the flashback stuff to Planet Vegeta, which most of you guys already know what happens because it's just a retelling of events that we've already seen. So, just giving you a warning, we're not going to get into any major spoilers for the second or third parts of the movie, just the first part, which is the flashback stuff. So just letting y'all know that no worries about any spoilers here, except for that stuff, which again, you already know. We're going to discuss on this video, we're going to compare the original Bardock special, the Bardock the Father of Goku TV special that's been around since 1990, one of the most famous ones, really, that we've ever seen in Dragon Ball, compared to the way that those events were portrayed in Dragon Ball Super Broly. Now, this is not going to really be a comparison between Minus and Bardock. It's going to be more so how Dragon Ball Super Broly took the Minus story, added to it, added music and, emotion, dialogue, and we're going to discuss which one is better, which one we like more, and compare them. So, joining me is somebody who was with me at the LA premiere, who saw the film with me, the English dub of it. Please welcome MJ to the discussion. What's up?
What's up, man? Thank you for having me back on the Geekdom 101 channel.
Yes, always. You're always welcome here. So, Bardock the Father of Goku, the original story of Bardock. Toriyama adapts this into the manga, but only for 2 panels. Now, one thing I will say right off the hop is, even though Bardock did rebel against Frieza in the movie, it was portrayed very differently, and it's still a retcon. If you look at the actual original panels, Bardock has his red bandana, and he's surrounded by people behind him, which is how it was in the Bardock special. In this Dragon Ball Super Broly film, it wasn't like that at all. Instead, Frieza does the same thing where he fires the blast from space on Planet Vegeta, but this time, Bardock does not fight Frieza's soldiers whatsoever. Dodoria and Zarbon are nowhere to be found. The blast actually comes down to the atmosphere of Planet Vegeta, and Bardock is in the sky on Earth, or on the planet, not on Earth, on Planet Vegeta, and he fires the ki blast up, but of course it does nothing, and then the Frieza Death Ball hits him and he kind of floats into it, which is very similar to how it was in the Bardock special. I'm guessing it was an homage, and then the planet blows up and we have the Scouter kind of counting down to 0 and the end of the race. So, yeah, I thought that the Scouter counting down to 0 was great. First of all, I just want to say this, okay? The voice acting for the dub was great. That's all well and good. We're going to discuss more so aesthetically, like which version was better. So, my first question to you, bro, is obviously we have Bardock and Guinea. This is a different Bardock. It's more of a nicer, softer Bardock. Do you think that Toriyama rewriting Bardock into being this kind of somewhat good guy is a good thing or a bad thing, man? Because I feel like Paragus also came off less evil in the beginning of this movie. I feel like the whole idea of the Saiyans being pricks only applies to certain Saiyans, not all of them. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that seems to be where they're going with, like, in this new modern version of the Saiyans and how they were portrayed back in the day, that not all of them were pricks. Some of them are good guys. However, there is one piece of dialogue that I did catch, and that was Guinea mentioning that Bardock doesn't usually care for his sons, and him doing this was kind of out of character for him. So I don't know if that was them throwing in that extra bit of dialogue to appeal to the fans who like the older version of Bardock, maybe hinting, hey, that warrior side of him is still there here, but we didn't really get much of that. And we talked about that, how Toriyama wrote a very long script for this film, and you and I, amongst other YouTubers, have talked about how a lot of that was probably cut out. You know what I mean? We didn't really get to see Bardock do any battles. We didn't really get to see him fight on other planets before being called back to Planet Vegeta. So he is portrayed as more of a softer character. And I'm okay with it in the sense that he still rebelled. I do like that aspect of his character because he comes off as the only Saiyan with the balls to have done something, you know what I mean? And I do like that. I think in the end of the day, Bardock was, the true essence of a Saiyan. He stood up, he did his thing, he didn't back down, even if he knew that he couldn't win the fight. and he tried to do it, and he was the only Saiyan that could do it. So I do still like that aspect of his character in the film.
Now, in the original Dragon Ball Z anime, this is not in the manga, there was a scene where King Vegeta rebelled against Frieza, and Frieza one-punch-manned him and killed him. That is nowhere to be found in this film. We don't know if King Vegeta rebelled against him or not, so we're going to assume he did not. One thing I will add to what you're saying, though, is if you've seen the movie, you kind of know what we're talking about. If you haven't seen it, I'll fill you in on this. That first 25 minutes that was all Planet Vegeta was very disjointed, and I feel like there was probably a lot of extra stuff that Toriyama wrote that just never got adapted, because the narrative of that scene is very, very, like I said, very disjointed, very disconnected. We see King Vegeta, we see Paragus and Broly, we see Bardock and Frieza, and there's these four kind of stories going on at once, but they're not going on at the exact same time. So it's almost like the movie's trying to hit you with all these different scenes, but the scenes don't really flow together. And that is one thing I will say that the Bardock special has over this minus stuff, is that the Bardock special focused on Bardock. It was all about him, his struggles, him trying to deal with the fact that he could see the future, his struggles with his own son. So the Bardock special really was a great character piece. And I want to say that I still love the Bardock special. I love that Bardock special. I will always love it. I enjoyed watching this in theaters, but there were problems here. Obviously, the fact there were characters here that weren't in the original story at all, like Barry Blue was there, and, it seems minor, but they weren't there. That didn't bug me too much. But did you think that Bardock and Guinea sending Goku off, it was a very emotional scene. I know Rhymestyle told me he was very touched by it. Were you touched by that scene, and did you think it was a good addition to the film?
I personally didn't get too emotional over that scene, but I can understand why some people will, because I think the fandom has this long-awaited sense of wanting to see Goku's mother, the same with Vegeta. So seeing that finally on the big screen, I can definitely understand why some people did get emotional. For me, it's whatever. I mean, I definitely enjoyed this more than minus. I feel like the voice acting helped. The music definitely helped. I'll even say I've gone back and rewatched the Bardock special where he gets erased. He gets killed by Frieza. And I would definitely say I do prefer the score in the movie more so than
Broly?
Yeah. I mean, people,
yeah, but it doesn't have Solid State Scouter though.
It doesn't.
That's
It
the
does
thing.
not have.
You gotta
that.
have that
You
song.
gotta have that. But overall, I didn't get too touched by that scene, but I can definitely see why others would. It was okay. Like it didn't throw me out of the experience. You know what I mean? It's not like when I read Minus for the first time and I was just thinking, this is mid, to quote BG. So there you go.
It was. Yeah, this is minus plus extra stuff, but a lot of extra stuff. Now, in the original Bardock special, what it has over the Broly movie is that, like you said, there's a lot more Bardock. We see him rebel against Dodoria. We see him have those visions of the future. In this version, he does not have, prophetic visions. He just has this weird feeling that Frieza's up to something. And the whole story is that Frieza decides that he's going to kill the Saiyans, obviously because of his own, fear. There was no scenes with Beerus here at all. There's nothing whatsoever with Beerus.
Which surprised me because we have seen Beerus meet the Saiyans before, especially in Super's continuity. So
we have. Yeah, that was very weird. Maybe it wasn't the original script. Who knows? But again, we're talking about how that original 3-hour Toriyama script, which we don't know if it's ever going to get adapted. If it does, we might see that. But we didn't see it here. But in the original Bardock special, we saw him figure out when he saw the visions of the future that, his son's going to be a big deal, and he realizes that his race is doomed and he wants to change it. So we see that great fight between Bardock and Dodoria. And, with the head, he's using freaking rear naked chokes and all these MMA moves. Yeah, which is a great fight. And then we have, of course, the great scene at the end where Bardock fights through Frieza's almost his entire army and gets confronted with Frieza face to face. And I still think that scene is way more epic. I think that the scene with Bardock rebelling was better than the entire Dragon Ball Super Broly first part. Like if you were to take just that scene with Bardock rebelling against Frieza in space, that to me is more emotionally impactful to me than anything in the movie. That being said, though, it was good to see Guinea, I think. I think her character, she did come off very loving and very caring because she didn't want to send Goku away or Kakarot. She didn't want to send him away. She was like a caring mother. So her character, I think, was fine. I think Bardock maybe smiled a bit too much. He was maybe a little too soft, to be honest with you. I think it would have helped out if we actually saw him be a badass. Because, yeah, he did rebel, but what's he going to do? It was that one little key blast, and that was it. And I feel like that was thrown in there just for like to appease the old fans, because it didn't feel like he had any semblance of a chance. And why didn't anybody else try and do anything? I mean, even though the Saiyans, they saw the ball coming, they could have done something, and they didn't, and that was weird. But we did get an extra scene, there was a scene where Nappa, Raditz, and Vegeta find out about the planet blowing up, and they're told it was a meteor or whatever, a comet. I forget what they said. And there was something similar in the Bardock special where Vegeta finds out about the planet, and he's like, yeah, I don't care. And in this version, they had Raditz talk a lot, and he talked about how, Kakarot. To me, MJ, that dialogue seemed completely unnecessary. I feel like that dialogue was in there to remind the fans, oh, by the way, I know, Dragon Ball Z starts with me going there. Just want to remind you guys. It was unnecessary dialogue, I felt, but it was good to see Raditz and Vegeta there as a fan. But I just felt
Didn't they add that in there for Raditz to say, oh yeah, I received the message, but I forgot what it was? Because didn't he say something like that? Because isn't that to clear up the issue as to why he didn't know Goku was sent to Earth or something?
Well, no, because right afterward he said, "Oh, I think my mom said that she sent Kakarot away or something like that." I think he said something like that. I don't remember the exact dialogue. He found out from his mom, from Gine. So it was kind of interesting too how you didn't really see an emotional reaction from Raditz nor Vegeta about their parents dying, because you would have think that Raditz would have freaked out over his mom dying and his dad, but he didn't care.
Right.
So that was kind of a little off-putting. If you're gonna make the Saiyan soft, give us some real emotion. I feel like they missed out on that.
The kids are harder than the parents in this version, bro.
It seems that way, right? It's like they don't understand, right? I did like how they've kind of revealed that, Bardock revealed in dialogue that all the Saiyans kind of hate Frieza. Like, who likes Frieza? Like, nobody liked Frieza. But they didn't really explain why. Like, what I wish they would have done is actually sort of explain why Frieza's so hated by them. Because, at the beginning of the movie, he kills those snipers, and I think that might have been the first indicator, like, hey, this guy could be trouble. But there's no... Yeah, there's nothing else there, and I felt like they could have put more in there. It just felt like I liked it, but it felt like it was missing something. It really needed to be fleshed out. If they would have made this into it felt like a separate movie. I've said this before. Like, when you go see a Pokemon movie, you've got the Pikachu adventure in the first short, then you've got the real Pokemon movie. That's how this felt. Like, you have the flashback stuff, even with Broly, and then you have the actual main stuff. So, what did you think about the Broly stuff with Paragus? How do you compare? I mean, obviously we can't compare it to the Bardock special because there was no Broly in that special, but do you think it added anything? I think it added something to Broly, but not so much the past.
I think, yeah, it added more so to Broly and Paragus, but not to the past. And what I'm referring to is I do think you see more of a concern with Paragus and his son getting sent away versus the original. I feel like him barging in there and then just like busting out of there, and going after his son, I think shows way more concern than the original, but that just adds more to them because they do, like you said on many videos, they have more of a tragic story to them, which gets fleshed out later, post Planet Vegeta destruction stuff. So
yeah, we're not talking about that one here because that's a spoiler,
right?
But I'm just trying to be cautious. I'm sure most people watching this already know what happens, but still, like, I just want to be cautious.
I do want to say this though before we get out of here. This comes from Herms, and I think this kind of just backs up more of the fact that there was probably more dog in that original script that was left out. Herms says, per the DBS Broly novelization, there's a scene where Bardock is confronted by one of those Saiyans, and they mention that Frieza's been asking around about the Super Saiyans, and it's mentioned in there that that guy is comrades or former battle comrades with Bardock, and I just feel like that wasn't strictly stated in the movie, and I think there's just a lot of stuff that was left out with Bardock, like we see him like in messed up armor as well. Like, to me, it comes off like a lot of the Bardock stuff was cut out, but
yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that was cut out. Yeah, I mean, they did a little bit of slice of life with him and Gine and him on the planet, but it just was, it was like a Dragon Ball Heroes episode almost, right? Like, it was very short. It didn't have enough time to breathe. Yeah, so at the end of the day, I'm going to get your thoughts. I think the Bardock special is still my favorite portrayal of Bardock. Bardock has like 4 different endings now, bro. It's kind of crazy if you include Heroes and Xenoverse and all that.
Right.
There's like 15 different Bardock stories, but I still prefer that one. It's still like, that one still matches up with the original manga more than this one does. This one I think was enjoyable, but I also feel like in the future, it's not necessary for this movie. You could literally just watch the Broly stuff and then fast forward to the later on in the movie and skip all this, and it's not really that necessary because we already know what happens, so we already know the story. It's weird they put all this in there, and I guess maybe it was to compromise with Toriyama. I don't know.
I guess to me it doesn't throw me out of the experience. I would say if you hate Minus, I'm right there with you. I do not like Minus, but this film does add a bit more to it. If you've been wanting to see Gine, you might want to go check out this film. The spectacle is nice. That's cool. But yeah, I still prefer the original TV special.
That's it. Let us know what you think in the comments. If you've seen the film or at least if you've read about it, let us know what you think. And thanks for being here, bro.
No problem, brother.
We'll talk to you soon.